Fashion is huge, it's a huge industry. Figure just to use art as a bridge between worlds. I love fashion, but I don't know if art has fashion. I know that fashion has art. So this video is based on a thought I had while having breakfast, and I made an entire post about it for Substack, and it's something that has been on my mind since like years ago, since I started liking fashion. It is basically a conflict I have based on the idea that is either being an artist, like painting like a painter, or being into fashion. For some reason my brain couldn't merge those two. But since last week, I figured just to use art as a bridge between worlds. Just with the Met Gala theme coming up, fashion is art. This opens a huge debate. I've been watching videos from different YouTubers, like Bliss Foster, for example, and I really enjoy thinking about this. It's such a huge topic, and my take is that fashion is not art, but you cannot say that fashion has no art. Fashion is huge, it's a huge industry. I mean, you can think about fashion thinking about the retail stores and the customer experience, up to Iris van Herpen with her incredible designs that are a piece of art. And I know it's different because it's art applied to something, it's design, that's why it's fashion design. But there is art in fashion. My problem, because I am not a designer, I like to paint. In a way, I am a painter, is that I love fashion, but I don't know if art has fashion. I know that fashion has art, but does art have fashion? And this is a long debate. I could literally research this for years and write a book and read books about this. But in my experience, many artists that are into painting don't really enjoy fashion or don't really have an interest in fashion. But basically, all of the people that I know in real life or online that are passionate about fashion are also passionate about art. And this is what conflicts me, because why does my brain think it's either fashion or it's either art? Because I like both, and even if it seems simple or easy, I think it's difficult to merge art and fashion, specifically to merge fashion into art. That's where I'm at. How can I merge fashion into that, into art, not really art into fashion? For example, personally, when I paint, I like to express ideas or feelings. It's easier to express something abstract rather than something about fashion. Because, for example, when I really like a runway collection, when I really like a specific garment, what I do often is to do a fashion illustration, where the look or the clothes is the main focus of that illustration or painting. But that is not like an artwork, that's an illustration. I don't want to do an illustration, and what I want is for fashion to enter my art world or an art piece. It is basically to implement fashion into a painting where the clothes have a role or an intention, not merely as just the primary focus or the literally focus of the illustration or of the artwork. And thinking about this, not really the philosophical debate, but my personal experience, I remembered the fig tree theory, which, if you haven't heard about, is a metaphor that comes from The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, but has gained a lot of popularity over the last years. And the metaphor is basically about the opportunity cost of life's choices. The tree has multiple figs, such as life with possible paths, but when you choose a fig from the tree, all of the other figs are left to rot or to die, just as the paths you didn't take in life. However, I recently read a girl saying that she doesn't care anymore about the fig tree. She's going to take all of the figs and blend it into a smoothie and drink it, which I find fabulous. And this is precisely what I aim to do with my art for fashion. And I think this really sums up to evolving as an artist and liking things you didn't like before, or just expanding your knowledge and realizing that there are more things out in the world that you like more than the ones you currently know. or you currently do. And you know this by looking at art history or the history of society. Like, art styles have evolved throughout the years, especially over the last 2 centuries, but now more than ever. And one same artist didn't had one specific art style throughout their whole career. Just to mention some popular examples, Picasso started doing more realistic paintings and he ended up inventing Cubism. Or Monet, who started doing caricatures for journals, ended up painting Impressionism. Or Van Gogh, he also tried to paint landscapes more realistic and he ended up having his signature style. So I don't think there's one artist that one day made something and had that style throughout all of their life. Although, remembering that my problem is not only about finding my style, it's about merging it with fashion. Sometimes I get extra frustrated, but there are other days where I remember examples of artists that already do this, already implement fashion in one way or another in their artworks, and I'd like to share them because I think they're pretty known, but not really. I feel they're still pretty underrated. So one of them is Domenico Nolli. I think that's how it's pronounced. And I love how he paints details. I mean, this is the perfect example that sometimes fashion isn't about just clothes, but about the world built around them. And by focusing solely on the details of the fabrics or even the hair touching the fabrics, it's weird because you don't see anything else, but you can imagine the world around them. Another one that does something similarly, but specifically with textiles and patterns. I don't know how to pronounce this, so don't mind me. Vladimir Dunjik, he's from Poland, and I really like his style. I really like especially how he paints faces. Also, one of my favorites, Anna Weyand. In fact, one of her artworks was in a Vogue cover once. I really like how it's not really about fashion, like it's not a fashion illustration, basically never, but her artworks are about people, especially girls, and the way she paints feminine and the skin, the faces of the models, how she blends realism with cartoonish features is mesmerizing, and I really like her style and her nostalgic color palette. And finally, another one that I really like is Rachel Cunningham. I love, like, she's the definition of whimsical. I love the colors she uses. Her style is very colorful, is very free, and I love the textures she creates with the paint and the watercolors. She paints scenes where fashion is present, but also she, as the artist, wears garments that intentionally creates a connection with fashion. So as you can see, like, fashion is not really just about clothes, but it's about people. And I've always been interested in fashion as a form of design, self-expression, or even sociology. And if you're also interested by these things, these topics in fashion, I highly recommend the book Dressed by Shahida Bari. For this matter, I think fashion is more complex. It is more deeply connected with identity, and I think this is also why, for example, kids don't really like fashion. When I was a kid, I didn't like clothes. Like, when my aunt gifted me for my birthday a sweater, I hated that. Like, why aren't you buying me something cooler? But right now, of course, I love clothes and I find them very interesting. But what I've liked all my life since I was a kid is to paint. I mean, I don't want to get deep into it, but I think with art, it's easier to express yourself as a kid than fashion. That's something that seems boring at glance, unless you're playing costumes or something. Anyway, my point with this is that I think it's easier for people to get more into art than into fashion, or more rapidly. But I mean, everyone's story is different. Maybe this was just for me. And if you think about it, art can be almost anything. Art is something very hard to define. Very, very hard. I highly recommend, by the way, the video by Bliss Foster about fashion and art. But even so, art is so big. Even if you narrow it down just to a painting, you can still do so much and create endless possibilities with just that painting, with just that white canvas. So from now on, what I'll try to do is to use art and painting not only as a way to express my emotions or my feelings, but also my interests and passion for clothing and fashion involved with identity. I think painting in general is a way to explore the artist's identity, to embrace human connection and open doors to new worlds. So my journey for this of creating artworks involved with fashion, not as fashion illustrations that I have done in the past years, but more as the artwork with something about fashion to it. And even though my journey is just starting, and this video I feel it was a bit selfish because I'm talking a lot about my experience, but my experience could help others or could help you reflect. And even though my journey is just starting, sometimes I feel old by being 21. So I take this opportunity to remind you and remind myself, age is truly just a number. It doesn't really matter when you do it, but what you do and what's your intention for it. So take this as encouragement to start expressing yourself more, expressing your creativity in any way you prefer, and don't worry so much about your age, because it really does not matter for most things in life, including only a very few things in life. Age is more than a number for some things, but very specific. If you think about it, it's really, like I said, what you do and what's your intention. Think about like your biography. Think about someone that has already died, like an artist or someone you admired or a scientist or a poet, I don't know. Like their biography does not tell he did this at age 28 or at age 30. Like it's just he invented this. It's what you do. It's not when you do it specifically. So if you found this video interesting, you like this type of topics, then follow along my journey of merging art and fashion, learning and creating and reflecting about topics like this, because I often do. In fact, I've already prepared a script for one that I really want to do, which is about how to be cool, basically, based on a study that was recently published, and I think that would be my next video. So thank you for watching. I hope you gained something out of this.